I am changing the oil after a 6-hour day in the saddle on my NT700. And I do a few things that might be a little different when changing my oil. I get the oil hot and I pull in the driveway and I let the bike idle until I get the oil pan and the 17mm wrench ready. Then I'll shut the key off and spin the oil filter, the oil drain plug out, and I will let it drain until it starts to slow down and drip. Then I transfer it from the side stand up onto the center stand, and I get a whole new flow of oil coming out of the engine. Even though the drain plug is on the left side, you'd think that having it on the left, on the side stand would get the oil all out, but it doesn't. Okay, so I let that drain. I've had it draining for about 3 hours now. Okay, so here's what I do. Let me show you something. I don't know anybody else that does this, but I'm not saying everybody else is wrong. But this is Yamahabond engine case sealant. When you split the cases on an engine that does not have a gasket, which they don't, they're metal to metal, you put this on the two surfaces that are going to meet without a gasket. This stuff never dries hard and it comes right off. It's almost like a rubber band. And it's not like silicone, it's different. But I put this, let me show you. I don't have that in the right spot. Okay. I put this stuff, come on, right on the drain plug threads. I put this sealant, you can see it in the threads from here to the back here to this washer, like you can see it's still in the threads. I don't put it on the part of the threads that may go into the engine, but I put that sealant on there, just a little bead around the base of the threads towards the nut head. And here, I still have some on the gasket. They say to replace these gaskets. I've never replaced one, and I've never had one leak. There, here's that stuff that peeled out of the threads. It never hardens, and it's almost like elastic. And that's case sealant. Okay? So here's what I do. I use this Yamahabond right at the very end of the threads. Just a little bead. Okay, let's see if I got that all the way around. I'll put the washer on now after I clean it off. See that case sealant stuck to that? Comes right off with your fingernail. That's not going to leak. And it's not going to hurt anything. They wouldn't allow you to use it on the two parts of an engine that come together if it could possibly do any damage. Alright, I have that around here. That's sealant. Okay, now I'm going to spin it. Okay, now I have it coating the threads. Alright, now I'm going to clean this off. That's the drain. I've had it draining for several hours. Now I'll spin this back in. Backwards and left-handed. That takes real skill. Okay. Now, I'll stand my camera back up. And spin the drain plug back in. They say 24, something like that, foot-pounds. That's 24. Trust me. Okay. Now I'm done with this bag because I took my my drain pan from under here because I needed to get the drain plug and the washer that fell into the oil pan out of the oil pan with my super duper nifty magnet. I have several magnets, but this one here you can shape into whatever configuration you're going to need to get around corners. And it's small, so it's easy to clean. But this tube that the magnet is attached to is sort of like a helicoil, a thermocouple on a furnace. The wire going to the thermocouple. Pretty handy. I don't think you could bend it too many times. It might break. My dog's barking. He's hungry. I just got back from a 6-hour ride. Okay, so that's what I do. Now, this stuff is called Yamahabond. You can get it at a Yamaha dealer. My first tube lasted me about 30 years. And I just bought this replacement. Yeah, it's called Yamahabond 4. And you can use it for putting a set of cases together. Or I use it around drain plugs so they won't leak. And it actually is sort of like a damper. So it won't, I don't think it would vibrate out, but it certainly wouldn't if it had some of this on it to put some drag on the threads. Okay, now I'm going to fill the oil filter with fresh oil. Because when you fill the oil filter with oil, that oil will be absorbed by the pleats in the oil filter element inside, and it'll look like it completely disappeared. And you do that to take up the air space in the oil filter so you have oil pressure, because you're not going to have oil pressure until your oil pump fills that oil pump, or fills that oil filter. So that's my last two things I have to do, is put the new oil filter on after I bleed the air out of it by filling it with oil. I had to spin the plug to get to the crank nut out. I had to get it out with a chisel. I made a video. I may be able to put that video on YouTube. It's kind of long, and I don't know how to edit videos yet. But that's the replacement. The stock ones, if you buy both plugs, are about $25 plus shipping. These two here are made by a company called Savage Racing Parts, or just Savage. They were $13 or $14 free shipping for both of them on eBay. So there are replacements. The other one, it just spun the center out. I tried to get it off. It was corroded a little bit, and I could not get it to spin out using just the Allen wrench. So I had to take it out with a chisel which destroys them. And then I spun these two in. I put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads so they'll come out easy when I go to adjust the valves next time. Anyway, now I'm going to just replace the oil filter and fill the crankcase with Honda regular 10W30 motor oil. Right there. GN4 4-stroke motorcycle oil. I buy that on eBay. I buy whatever's on sale. Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, whatever. They're all good. They're not going to put more oil on the market that is going to break down and cause their engines to have problems because they'll be doing warranty work. That oil, I'm sure they tested it. It's not the super duper expensive stuff. It's just regular oil. And I'm sure it's part synthetic. Any oil with its multi-weight is synthetic. And the 10W, the W does not stand for weight. It stands for winter. That's what the oil acts like at whatever the prescribed winter test temperature is that everyone agreed to. So it acts like, it flows like 10 weight for the low temperature, and I suppose the polymers in the oil make it flow like 30 weight at whatever the higher temperature limit is for the testing to give it those numbers. And the wider the number between the low number and the high, like this is 10W40, that's some I have left over that I use in my venture. I thought that it was 10W30. The wider the space between the low number and the high, the more polymers are in the oil. That's part of the additives package to give it viscosity stability. Anyway, I'm going to get back to this and put the oil in. I'll see you there.